What does this music remind you of? Does it remind you of a past you never had? Does it give you nostalgia for a time you never experienced? Well, if so, good. That means it's working. Hey, my name is Will, and today we're taking a look at Everywhere at the End of Time by the Caretaker. Now, I could be wrong, but there's a good chance that you have seen something related to this album if you've ever scrolled down your YouTube recommended for an extended amount of time. You've probably either seen this video or videos related to it in your feed, and now it looks normal. It looks like a pretty cool album with an exotic aesthetic, right? Well, you're wrong. Look at the duration of the video. 6.5 hours of this music. But what could it be about? Well, it's not pretty. This album is a 6-stage long emotional journey meant to emulate the effects of the disease known as dementia, a condition that slowly hacks away at the brain's ability to function properly. Usually the most common side effect is memory loss, which is also the main story behind this album. Unlike the album, dementia itself has 7 stages, whereas this album only has 6, but you can easily see how each stage plunges deeper and deeper into the side effects, entirely through music. Before we start on the album, here's a bit of backstory. This album was made by the Caretaker, or James Leland Kirby, who is a musician also responsible for making the album An Empty Bliss Beyond This World back in 2011. As for Everywhere at the End of Time, Stage 1 was released back in 2016, Stage 2 and 3 were released in 2017, Stages 4 and 5 in 2018, and finally Stage 6 in 2019. Now, we're going to begin by taking a look at Stage 1. Stage 1 is best described by its last line of its description, but I'll just read the whole thing. Here we experience the first signs of memory loss. This stage is most like a beautiful daydream, the glory of old age and recollection, the last of the great days. This stage plays different samples from iconic 1920s and 1930s ballroom music, the type of stuff you might hear from a gramophone or a record player. For instance, this music playing right now. This stage is mostly meant to set the stage for the rest of the album, as a lot of it will also sound like this but more deteriorated or aged. In fact, some of the songs in Stage 1 can be heard throughout the rest of the album, especially the song playing now. Stage 1 emulates the feeling of noticing the first few side effects of dementia. In a way, the sheer repetitiveness of the songs can symbolize forgetting parts of the song and trying to remember how it goes. And honestly, the way it repeats is unnerving. I think now is a good time to mention this. My friend Rylan, or Rymeista on YouTube, link in description, listened to the album a few days after I did, and he made some really good points about certain aspects of the album. I never realized how unnerving the repeating of the songs was until he brought it up.
I don't like how it's just repeating. Why does it keep... No, stop repeating.
I'll talk more about what he has to say later on, as the stages keep going. Anyways, if you were like me, the first stage of the album you'd expect to be the least unnerving, but that's not the case here. Some of the songs are freaky, and the first song of the album is a prime example of that. Just a Burning Memory can be heard throughout the rest of the album stages 1 through 6. However, the deeper into the album you get, the song gets more and more distorted. The song names are eerie, but they only get worse. Some examples are, We Don't Have Many Days, My Heart Will Stop in Joy, or Quiet Internal Rebellions. Overall, Stage 1 doesn't have too much to talk about until later stages, so we'll come back to this later. Anyways, on to Stage 2. Stage 2's description is as follows. The second stage is the self-realization and awareness that something is wrong with the refusal to accept it. More effort is made to remember, so memories can be more long-form with a little more deterioration in quality. The overall personal mood is generally lower than the first stage, and at a point before confusion starts settling in. Stage 2 is meant to signify the awareness of the situation. The patient now knows they're undergoing the effects of dementia, and this stage symbolizes it really well. The beginning of the stage honestly sounds kinda calming, but you can definitely hear the distortion kicking in as you listen to the songs. For instance, listen to this. The stage captures a picture of giving into the fact that dementia has started and it won't end. This is where you have to accept it. Nothing's gonna be the same after this. Stage 2 is also the stage where I feel like love comes in. You have to say your last goodbyes before you start to forget what's going on. and honestly it's heartbreaking if you think about it. The song names are now even more unnerving. For example, What Does It Matter How My Heart Breaks, Surrendering to Despair, Denial Unraveling. Overall, I feel like Stage 2 is the least unnerving. The music isn't as freaky or unnerving as songs from stages 1 or 3. I just feel like it's a bit an oasis before the roller coaster that is Stage 3. Stage 3's description is as follows. Here we are presented with some of the last coherent memories before confusion fully rose in, and the grey mists form and fade away. Finest moments have been remembered. The musical flow and place is more confused and tangled. As we progress, some singular memories become more disturbed, isolated, broken, and distant. These are the last embers of awareness before we enter the post-awareness stages. Stage 3 is quite the experience. This whole stage is very diverse when it comes to the type of songs inside of it. I think that Stage 3 can be split up into 2 parts. The first half of the stage, I feel like, is the feeling of denial. The song playing right now just radiates the idea of denial. Everything is fine. There's nothing wrong. I can't let it get to me. Just the hope that disease won't harm you anymore, but there isn't any hope. The songs in the first half are relatively uniform. The majority have the same idea to them, and hey, my favorite song is in the first half of Stage 3, Hidden Sea Buried Deep. Anyways, the second half of the stage reminds me of Stage 2, in a way that it represents the cold, hard acceptance, and that this is the way you'll have to live for the rest of your life. Stage 3 has so much diversity in its songs. For instance, up until now, most songs have consisted of the typical orchestral brass or woodwind sound. Again, like ballroom music. And sure enough, yeah, there are still some things like that in Stage 3, but it usually has different songs this time. And with those different songs, Stage 3 also uses different instruments, like a creepy music box as shown in E7. A synthesizer shown in F5, 7, and 8, as well as some almost type of bell sound in F6, and even some really creepy humming in F3. Honestly, Stage 3 is terrifying, but I love it at the same time. The diversity really makes it stand out from the others, and I'm considering making a separate video all about Stage 3. And if you guys want to see that, then go like the video and I'll work on it. The song titles in Stage 3 are even more chilling than Stages 1 and 2, consisting of And Heart Breaks, Burning Despair Does Ache, and Aching Cabin Without Lucidity. Overall, Stage 3 may sound freaky, but it's better considered the calm before the storm that is Stage 4. Stage 4's description is as follows. Post-awareness Stage 4 is where serenity and the ability to recall singular memories gives way to confusions and horror. It's the beginning of an eventual process where all memories become more fluid through entanglements, repetition, and rupture. Stage 4 is, well, just listen to this real fast. Stage 4 is really something else when compared to Stages 1, 2, and 3. The idea of music is pretty much gone now, leaving with a terrifying static and synth mixture with a few instruments every now and then, but not enough to make it enjoyable in the slightest. Stage 4 is also the first stage to only have 4 songs, and the rest of the stages follow that pattern, whereas Stage 1, 2, and 3 are around 40 to 45 minutes long, Stages 4, 5, and 6 are all around an hour and a half long, which is brutal when listening to. Anyways, as the description says, Stage 4 is where the fun ends. You are left with horror and anxiety as you try to cling on to your memories and not let them fade away, but to no prevail. And you are just left blank while silently trying to hang in there. But it only gets worse in Stage 5. Stage 4's names, in my opinion, are the most eerie because 3 of the songs are just named the same exact thing, being Post-Awareness Confusions, and only one song being named something different, called Temporary Bliss State, which honestly lives up to its name. The 3 songs with the same name are nightmarish, but Temporary Bliss State is a bit of a break from the fear and horror. At least to me. Rylan would beg to differ.
It's not more enjoyable.
Stage 4, I think, was the hardest to listen to, purely because of the sounds it makes. It just sounds like an hour and a half of nails on a chalkboard. Anyways, on to Stage 5, and there isn't very much to say about Stage 4 other than how horrible it is to listen to. Stage 5's description is as follows. Post-awareness Stage 5, confusions and horror. More extreme entanglements, repetition, and rupture can give way to calmer moments. The unfamiliar may sound familiar, and time is often spent only in the moment. Stage 5 was honestly not too bad. The description proves my point perfectly. The unfamiliar may sound and feel familiar. The harsh sounds that came from this stage are what you're used to after Stage 4, and you are just kind of numbed to it at this point. Stage 5 is where the patient would undergo slight bliss under a thick blanket of despair and struggle, using the last bits of your strength to hang in there, just to be able to think. After all, that's the only thing you can do at this point. Stage 5 also doesn't give me much to talk about, it's just the hope of trying to live a few more days as all you can remember are these sounds. The song names again are pretty freaky, such as Advanced Plaque Entanglements, Synapse Retrogenesis, Sudden Time Regression into Isolation. And the name Advanced Plaque Entanglements is likely a reference to the plaque that builds up in the brain, alongside dementia. Not so fun fact. Stage 5 was more boring to listen to than anything. I was desperate to finish the album, and Stage 5 just felt so slow, considering it sounded like a less painful Stage 4. Well, with that, on to Stage 6, the finale. Stage 6 is without description. So, that description is spine-chilling, right? I'd definitely say so. Well, if I had to give it a description, I'd say it's the patient's last moments of bliss. The end is on its way as the patient tries to hang in there once again, but they've lost everything. Nothing is left. Thankfully, most of Stage 6 is a very calming, but also unnerving synth track, which honestly kept me going through the last hour and a half of the album. This part of the album is actually nice to listen to, unlike the song names. A confusion so thick you forget forgetting, a brutal bliss beyond this empty defeat, and long decline is over. Stage 6 doesn't have much to talk about either, which is why I'm moving on to a song that deserves its own segment, the final song, Place in the World Fades Away. The final song is mostly more synth, and it's strangely calming. The majority of the track sounds nice. The patient has found tranquility and peace, and they're happy even though they're the reason others are not. But we aren't here for the beginning of this last track, we're here for the ending. Suddenly, the synth track cuts off into silence, which honestly is really enjoyable considering the rest of the song is heartbreaking. Audio cuts back in as you hear almost machine-esque sounds and the horrible faint sounds of people crying. They've just lost you. And then the most brutal part comes in. An angelic choir starts singing, and it's beautiful compared to the rest of the album. The angelic choir is accompanied by other instruments as it gets louder and more sad. This is the final moment of bliss that the patient undergoes. This 5-minute long period of grace before eventually the choir slowly fades away, leaving you with the last note you'll hear, and then a devastating minute of silence. The patient has met its end, and thus ending the album on a both beautiful and terrifying note. Sad stuff, huh? Yeah, I warned you. Well, I mean, now to cheer us up a bit, we're gonna be taking a look at this exotic album art made by Ivan Seal, who has been known to make several other pieces of art very similar to what you see in these stages. I don't know very much about Ivan Seal himself, so I'm planning on giving him out my ideas on what I think the art means more than his history. The art in stage 1 looks a bit like a rolled up newspaper, and I see it symbolizing something you'd be very familiar with back in the 30s. A nice newspaper to catch up with what else is happening in the world, except as you can see, there aren't any words, and this could signify the beginning of it all, starting to forget things like reading words. But I might just be crazy, who knows. Stage 2's art seems to be a flower pot, and sure, the flower looks good, but you can't make out what the pot's material is though. I can easily make out what appears to be a man and a woman dancing on the handles of the flower pot, which goes along with my theory that this is the beginning of forgetting what makes you happy in life. For instance, a flower pot is a good gift for a loved one, but if this flower pot is distorted and looks unfamiliar. Stage 3's art confuses me. It looks like a lot of plants or something like that, or honestly seaweed. Maybe this symbolizes the cloudiness building up in the brain, or just the struggle to remember what clarity is like. I can't make out too many things in the picture itself, but Rylan can see tons of things.
I've been seeing this for a while and haven't said anything about it, but I see Gumball from the Amazing World of Gumball with a screwdriver into his head.
Overall, I'm not really sure what to see in the pictures, so Stage 4. Stage 4's art is clearly a depiction of a woman, but from the eyes of the patient. I think this art strongly symbolizes forgetting love, as you can see this would be your lover. Just this mask that looks like something I remember humans looking. The face is unfamiliar since your ideas of love and family is fading away. Stage 5 also confuses me just like Stage 3. I hardly see anything in this other than a strange white mass, which honestly goes really well with the unfamiliar sounds of Stage 5. Just drone and static for an hour and a half go well with this abstract art. Lastly, Stage 6 is simple yet terrifying. It's a board of wood with blue tape on it, but I've also heard it's a blank canvas. Now, that word blank fits it perfectly. All of Stage 6, except the ending, is blank, just the drone and synth match this empty yet beautiful piece of art. Finally, we're done. It's definitely some sad stuff, right? Well, we're done with it, so it's all good. I've listened to this album once and plan to do it again sometime soon just to see if it has the same effects on me. I might live stream it, so stay tuned for that, and follow me on Twitch at WillToLiveYT. Also, like I said, I might make a video completely about Stage 3, so if you want to see that, then make sure to like this video and I'll get on it soon. Anyways, that's all for this video. Thank you guys for watching, and I strongly encourage you to check out this album. Yeah, and I'll see you guys later.